Good morning. Marriage
I see a
matters.
little lag. What's the lag about?
Oh, I don't know.
We have a little lag here.
But we are. Good morning. Facebook and Instagram. How's everyone this morning?
Yes, good morning, good morning.
Go
We love
ahead
you, we
and
love you.
get your coffee in and
Please do.
hope you got your conversation ready for
Yeah.
one of the topics that one of our loyal, faithful viewers, uh, a question that they wanted to discuss was how to communicate. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Unintentional, unrealistic expectations. I can't get
Yeah.
myself together this
You
morning.
we didn't go over that.
We're going to talk about unrealistic expectations today.
Unrealistic expectations.
Okay. So these were the topics we were discussing by the viewer's choice.
Viewer's choice.
So this is topic number 5, unrealistic expectations.
All right, so we're gonna wait for y'all to come in and get the crack-a-lacking and waking up. But that's something that is not addressed, or some people go into marriage with a euphoria of a vision, and I guess when even with ladies when they get married, right, they have everything planned out, and it don't always. I don't know of any of them that turned out like the way they wanted to. My wife was late, so they thought I was being stood up. So when you plan a marriage, you plan a wedding, you think that everything's gonna go well. Everybody's looking around. Where's your wife? Is she coming? It's late. You know, she'll come. She's coming. She's coming. She's gonna be here. She's coming.
But see, that attitude, that type of attitude and patience only comes when you know who you're getting married to.
Okay.
He was so patient.
Mm-hmm.
And he just waited.
Yeah. What else could I do? Just wait. Anyway.
It wasn't that long. Oh.
The only one that kept asking me was Stephanie. Gerrol, where is she? Is she coming? I said, Stephanie, she's coming. Okay. She coming. She was trying to do the programs or do something with the programs, and she was
trying to do the programs and get to the church.
Got out the car crying, dragging the dress on the ground. No, I'm just playing. But she did get out the car crying. So I think that just in general, I think that people may have some differing opinions about how that should play out and what should it look like, and not really understand that it's a training ground for that. It is preparation for that. Because I know that they talk about getting prepared for the wedding. You know, what's all going to take place in there. How many groomsmen you going to have. How many bridesmaids you going to have. Where you going to have the reception. Where you going to have your dancing secondary dress on when you get out your wedding dress. If you know you can't get out of it. What kind of food. We're going to have a dessert bar. What kind of cake? What's going to be in the cake? Is it going to be this cake or that cake? Got cake tastings, but all of those things, and the expectation is that all of them should flow together.
Right.
You know, groom should be there, standing waiting on his bride. Everybody that sings a song should sing it the way they should sing it. We knew that they were going to be singing at our wedding, but we knew the singer was not going to face the audience. So he sung the song without facing the audience. So if they had an expectation that it was going to be done in that way, it wasn't happening. We already knew, so it wasn't.
But the way I look at that though is like he was serenading us.
He was singing to us. Yeah.
He was singing to us. So.
Okay.
That's the way I've always looked at that.
Well, I know he practiced that song a lot. Thank you, Cedric. We appreciate you. It was pretty cool. So, good morning, AJ. So the thing was, you know, the realisticness of that
Mm-hmm.
was that we were trying to bring all of that culmination of planning for the wedding together.
Right.
You know, my dad, he wanted the rehearsal dinner to be really, really nice.
Yeah.
You know, he had been cooking these briskets for, I don't know, 12 hours.
Hours, long time.
And he stepped away for just 1 second with the pit open. Just 1 second. Came back and the briskets was blazing. Just
Thank you.
like somebody just threw some gas on it. And so they wouldn't have never known that those briskets got charred up like that. Because he cut the first layer off of all of them, sliced them up. Everybody thought it was amazing. So all the things that happened behind the scene, because we were planning for the wedding, was nothing like what we expected.
Right.
The expectation is that everything would go the way we planned.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I can't say that it was an unrealistic expectation for my wife, that she should have been there on time or whatever. We know she should have been there on time. The main thing is when it was over, we walked out together. Now, if she would have got there late and we'd have walked out one at a time, then we know it's done. It's over. So when we talk about unrealistic expectations,
Mm-hmm.
then what was communicated to say, what you wanted? And that's what we're going to kind of have a segue in today.
Right.
So
we're going to go ahead and get started.
Yeah, we're going to get started. We're going to hit this. First, I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk about, I'm going to read these expectations. This is some weird stuff.
And these are unrealistic expectations.
Unrealistic expectations. It says, these are unrealistic expectations. So let me read them. Your spouse should complete you. Okay. It says, getting married is the hard part. Once you're married, you'll live happily ever after. Your spouse's job is to make you better or a more evolved person. Your spouse will never change. You'll be able to make your spouse change. It says you'll be able to make your spouse change in the ways that you want him or her to. Sex will always be fabulous because you love each other. Your spouse will give you whatever you want simply because he or she loves you. Your spouse's life should revolve around you. Your spouse will be the only friend you need. Because you love each other, you'll always be able to resolve all disputes. You should never go to bed angry. You should spend all your free time together, just like you did when you fell in love. Those are unrealistic expectations.
But you know over here how not so.
Yeah. Those are unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
And I can, and so one of the things that the guy said in the reading was that because of the unrealistic expectations, that means if they're unrealistic, that means they were never met, right? And so he said 45% of divorces result from unrealistic expectations.
It was whatever that thing was never discussed.
Never discussed.
So a good example is a woman that gets married and she desires to have a baby, but she never discussed that with her new husband. He may have came from a family that was just so, his childhood was so horrific that he made up in his mind he never wanted to have children. But if that wasn't discussed, that's a lot of tension, heartache, and headache.
Yeah.
You know.
Excuse me, y'all. I'm having some allergy issues this morning. I'm trying. So the focus there should be, how do we communicate what we want? And then for me and Millicent, if it's an there might be some unrealistic expectations between us. And even after they're clearly communicated, then one of the things that we can do is what compromises could we do to have some kind of happy medium, right?
Right.
But we'll talk about that later. The focus now is to talk about these things. Your wife or your husband should complete you. that's unrealistic. That's not even biblical. Because first and foremost, Jesus, the Lord God, Jesus and the Holy Spirit should complete you.
Completely. Exactly.
That should be wherever you feel broken, He's supposed to be able to take care of you in that area. If there's ground that needs to be tilled in your life, Jesus is going to take care of that area. If you're unhappy, and you might be, He will dry your tears. Jesus will do that for you. So, when we talk about unrealistic expectations, again, with what's his name, Devon Franklin? When he made that comment, I did not pay attention to it the first time because Millicent and I went to the Spark Marriage Conference for Lakewood last year, and then we went virtually this year. Last year we went, and we had an ugly fight or whatever afterwards. All of that Jesus they gave us, and then we had a nasty, ugly whatever. Went this year and had another one. So the thing was, there was things that was not addressed,
right,
that needed to be addressed. And for whatever reason, God should choose that conference 2 years in a row to unveil some things for us. It was for our benefit, even though we didn't like the process of going through it.
Right.
So,
because that, not to cut you off, but that also comes from, not really addressing the issue. So, all the time we talk about having those uncomfortable conversations and how they're necessary for growth. If we just kind of, okay, well, I'm just going to put a Band-Aid on that right there, but I don't clean it. I don't put, antiseptic on it. I don't put antibiotic, ointment on it, and I just put a Band-Aid on it. Well, it's going to take longer for it to heal because I really didn't address the wound.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when we have blow-ups or things resurface because it was a trigger word or a trigger activity that happened, that these are some of the reasons why, because it was never fully addressed.
And we're going to come back to that because that's going to be a kind of like a circle of continuous growth that we keep coming back to that.
Okay.
So all of these things, your spouse will never change, unrealistic. Sex will always be fabulous no matter when you have sex. The chandelier, it's always going to be that way, unrealistic. Your spouse will be the only friend that you need, totally unrealistic.
Can I go back to that other one though?
What?
About where it says sex will always be fabulous because you love each other?
No.
So just to say this, guys, and it's just known facts. The older you get, things change. Okay? So one thing I do not want you all to do is if you're having issues sexually, don't be afraid to discuss that with your spouse. Because if it's affecting you, guess what? It's affecting them too.
Yeah, you need to talk about it.
And hey, good morning, Laura. Good morning, Bridget.
Where's Laura? What?
Right there. But seriously, that's I think as married couples, we don't talk about or address that issue enough, because there are people that are out there suffering in their marriage just because the sex has changed or it's just become non-existent altogether. But again, it's about that's a tough conversation to have. But if you are learning your spouse, gelling with your spouse, and just wanting to become closer to one another, you should learn how to get comfortable with your spouse to discuss that, because again, it's benefiting or not benefiting both of you.
Good morning, Miss Charlie.
Good morning, Charlie.
And good morning, Miss was that Bridget? Good morning. Good morning, Miss Bird. Katrina.
Okay, so I just wanted to put that in there because a lot of people, again, we don't address that, often. So we want to make sure y'all are getting the full everything.
Yeah, and so it's important to understand that when I was talking about Devon Franklin, he was upset with Megan Good because, she expected food to be cooked all the time. Okay.
Thank you, baby.
All right. He was, the thing was, He wanted food to be cooked every day. He was used to that. That's what he was growing up into. But that was never communicated to Megan.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing her thing. She's making her movies. He's doing his thing. He's speaking all over the country. But when she got back home, he didn't care if she cooked the same thing all the time. Yes, ma'am. How can we help you?
I'm sorry. I need something to clean the toilet bowl.
Bathroom.
Yeah. Right. So the reason why she was upset, yeah, kids just come in, they say anything. So whatever y'all heard, don't worry about it. They just say that, no filter, just come in and I need something, daddy, mommy, so you know. So the thing was, he didn't care if she cooked the same thing. He wanted food. He didn't want takeout. But see, he never communicated that with her. So after a while, he started treating her very cold because the expectation was, you should know that you should do it.
Exactly.
Because this is what I've always had. She said, make them clean. That's right. They got to clean up. Yes, ma'am. And so she was saying that, so she knew that he wanted the food to be cooked. But because of the way he treated her, and he didn't communicate the expectation that he wanted the food to be cooked, then she told him to his face, the reason why I didn't do it because the weight of your expectation made me not want to.
Exactly.
So that's a rough patch because you didn't clearly communicate what you wanted. Not to say that you was gonna get it, but you didn't clearly communicate that, hey, you wanted that. And that should have been something discussed. That's why we talk about, when we talk about people getting engaged and they're going to get married, you need to talk about that kind of stuff. Because don't go into the marriage thinking that somebody's going to cook for you all the time. If they mama ain't cook for them, they ain't cooking for you.
Right. And that's why we always encourage people to, go to marriage counseling. Because when we went to marriage counseling with Pastor Mike, he brought up so many things that we never even had a clue to talk about. But because he brought them up, it sparked what? Conversation. So we were able to put those expectations out there, and then it wasn't unrealistic and causing issues.
And he didn't, and sometimes he would say something to us and he would say, I don't want you to answer right now. So I knew that was going to be a problem. Because that was looking like we really, because at that point, when he would ask us something and say that, that means we never even thought about doing or talking about that.
Right.
So then we'd have to go back, because this was like 6 months. So we was just 6 months, this one, all these things. And so when he would do that, I'm like, man, now we got to go talk about this, but we didn't think about it. So it's the same thing. So let's just kind of push forward. So you mean those that are listening, Millicent, we got to be able to say what it is that we would like. We need to be able to talk about how we do or want something, or what ways in which we want to be able to be understood. All of those are important, because if it's not communicated and it's not being brought to the table, then don't get mad when somebody don't do it. Right. I mean, it's just like this. If you used to somebody always opening the door for you because your dad did it for you, well, your boyfriend ain't did it one time. But you think that after you get married, some kind of thing in his brain is going to go all the way back to your childhood with your dad when he opened the door for you all the time. And then that's going to resonate and drop into his spirit. That ain't never going to happen.
No.
He ain't never opening no door for you. He going to click, and the car going to unlock, and he going to walk on his side. Because if you didn't communicate to him even when you was dating, I really like when a man opens the door for me. And he'd be like, well, I'm not opening the door for you. Then that's just a conversation to have. Do you love him enough to not worry about the door being open and y'all still have a good vibe and y'all do what y'all do? Or it's a deal breaker. You don't open the door for me, we can't be together. You do what you want to do. That's your choice. But if it ain't clearly communicated.
And what was that? What was it? What a man wants, or whatever that movie was with Megan Good and Taraji P. Henson, and it was the guys and the girls. And when Megan Good went on the date, and that's what that reminds me of. When Megan Good went on the date, And he went and got in the car
Yeah.
on the driver's side, and she stood there. She did not touch the door handle of that car. She stood there on the outside. And he was like, what? She was like, the door. You didn't open the door. You just got in the car.
Mm.
And he was playing around, and he drove off.
Yeah.
And she stood there, and she turned around like she was going to go back upstairs to her apartment.
Yeah. Then he backed up.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's a nonverbal communication about what she expected him to do.
Exactly.
She should have told him, you know. Yeah, but I think no. I think that in that space they were able. He was able to understand what she wanted.
Right.
Now, if he wasn't able to do it, then he would have been able to tell her right then and right there. I don't think that's something I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Consistently, I don't think it's something I can do. Period. You know,
Right.
and it's not because I don't want to mentally. I just don't think I can do it. And if I can't do it consistently all the time, why should I? You know, but you got to have that conversation. If you don't, it's an issue. When you get married and you start talking about money, and you think that it's unrealistic to believe that you got two people that, well, I won't say that. If you got two people that save, that's good. You know, I love you for that. But sometimes you're not going to have that. You're going to have a spender, an impulse spender, a shopper, and then you're going to have a conservative. Somebody don't spend nothing. That probably won't ever pull a dime out. But if you don't clearly discuss budget and how you go about money and what your plans are,
Right.
how you're going to deal with bills, then you just leave it up to somebody else to decide for you.
Exactly.
And then the decision for you is going to be the devil and the inability to be able to clearly communicate your expectations around finances. You need to have that conversation. We don't have a finances conversation. We don't have a finances problem. We used to have a finances problem because we had no money. But then the thing is, but she's more spendy, and I'm more savey. So the thing is, you know, but what we've learned over the years that we should have learned this a long time ago. Now that we understand how to attack things,
Right.
now that we understand how we can just not use credit cards and stuff and just save by. Well, you don't have to owe nobody nothing. We can walk in there. You want that? We've saved up for it. We researched it. Boom, we just go in. We'll leave out. Don't have to worry about nothing. Ain't got to worry about 30 days from now what kind of payment we're going to make.
Right.
It's done. But if you don't have that kind of conversation, then you're not going to have that conversation in finances.
Right.
And even if it wasn't like that, and
Right.
you decided that we are going to finance it, but there will be nothing that we finance that we don't pay off in 1 year.
Exactly.
Then your commitment is to the 1 year.
Yeah.
But you got to communicate that. Because if not, then you're going to have somebody over there that think that a budget ain't worth the crap. This is my money. I'm going to go do what I want to do. See, all that stuff, when it ain't discussed when you dating,
Yeah.
it's
It's
unrealistic.
about me,
to
myself,
think.
and I.
It's
And
unrealistic.
it's we, us, and ours after you take the
Yeah.
vows.
And it's unrealistic to think that your spouse, he or she, is going to change their mind about finances because you are more structured and they're not. Or even with stuff like that. I don't, you know, and I ain't gonna speak on our situation with no bank accounts, but if you got two people and you thinking in your mind when you get married, well, we're gonna have a joint account. That ain't never been discussed.
Exactly.
So now you're thinking that you're gonna have a joint account with your spouse, but you have not communicated the expectation around finances. You gotta have these conversations, or they're unrealistic, they're unmet. Then we can just start. I wish we could just seesaw words back and forth. Anger. Like what's another thing because of unmet expectations? So I'm gonna get angry with you. You gonna do what with me? I mean, what's something that'll be your response if an expectation didn't get met?
Frustration.
Disappointment.
Retaliation.
Separation.
Defiance.
What else? Let me see. I don't know. But that's kind of the thing.
Right.
All of those things start playing off each other because when you don't communicate these expectations, you get upset because it did not get met.
Right.
And if it got met, thank God. If it didn't get met and you communicated, then you have to have the conversation about what are your lines around this? Is this something that you will be able to do for me?
Right.
Or the other, you know what I'm saying? But if you don't talk about it, then it becomes the skeleton in the room.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes the bear in the closet.
Right.
There ain't no bear in the closet. It's a skeleton in the closet.
You said a bear in the closet. Okay, I never heard that, but okay.
Well, we won't use that one. Something else. I should have said, well, it's out. Okay.
But the thing is again to have those tough conversations. I mean, because we to this day, what maybe once a month or every 2 weeks, just depending on what's going on,
Yeah.
we have a financial meeting,
Yep.
and it has done nothing but benefit us. We sit there and strategize, but it's also I hate to say it like this, but it's a team building exercise.
Yeah.
like I do it at school. It's a team building exercise.
It's a meeting of the mind because we might have one plan, right, about how we want to attack something, and we don't always agree on that.
Right.
But what we do agree upon is we think we find out what's going to be the best thing, and we really looking at a lot of variables, right? We're looking at variables about how we're spending money on food, on gas, on other things.
Right.
And then if we got a goal to have we got a goal to have something paid off by the November.
November.
It's this month.
Yeah, that's
and
coming
so
up.
we have a goal to have something paid off by this month, but we did put a plan in place. You know, last year when she got the ring that she wanted, I told myself it would be paid off by December, but it was paid off like it was like what
September?
Yeah, September. So I was done. I didn't want to wait till December, but the plan was even if it was going to be done in December, because that would have been a full calendar year. That was my plan. I was going to take a year, but I didn't. It got taken care of. So the same thing with expectations in your relationship. I expect you to talk with me, or I expect you to have, some quality time within the week, or I expect for you to, be able to bounce. I should be able to bounce ideas off of you, or, I expect for you to, what's that? Compromise with some of the stuff. I can't look at football every all the time in all sports. Can you look at one of these shows? And she knows it's something I don't really care for, but I will.
But he has conformed to my norm.
I will try to do that.
And you do it.
But I love
he'll put the shows on for me, and I will sit there and I will look at football games, basketball games. All
she will do that. I gotta give it to her. So the realistic expectation is, that we compromise about that, because then what happens when you don't meet the expectation of, well, I wanted you to check the show out with me, at least be engaged, right? So let's say that all the time when she wants to look at something, I want to look at something, we separate and go do something. Now we've created a habit of not being together. Not saying that you got to be together all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you're creating a habit of separation with that. So I don't like that. So I think that when you talk about compromises and doing things like that, it's important to be able to put yourself in a position to focus on what is realistic, what is achievable, what can be compromised, and what's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with that, at least you know what's on the table and how you're going to deal with it.
Point in case, early on, I'm a shopper. I love to go shop. I mean, even with my mom when I was younger, I'm one of those diehard people. I can shop till I just literally drop. So going out to get breakfast, hit the mall. Maybe hit another mall. Don't know. Lunch in between there, continue shopping, stop and get dinner, and you on your way home 9 o'clock at night. I mean that's what I was used to. That's what I grew up with. And when we first tried to go shopping together, and then when the kids were little, I'm looking around, my husband and
And
copped
I'm
out
sitting
on a
on a
bench
bench
somewhere. And I'm
because
like,
I
you know
am
what?
not
You're
going to
going to
walk
stay at home because
around.
if you can't keep
I
up, I
am
can't
not
carry no
going.
dead weight.
I guess
So
I'm
I'm
dead
going to leave
weight,
you at the house.
dead weight,
So
beanie weight,
that's,
welterweight.
unless we go shopping on purpose for something like, for the house, a big ticket item, or we going for the children, like when school gets ready to start. Other than that, I see you when I get back. Bye. Because I know it's not happening.
I'm not doing that.
But it doesn't bother me, because that's something that's been discussed, tried, and failed, and we just kept moving.
And she wanted me to continue. And it took a while. Every time she turned around, we go to the mall, she look around, I'm on a bench. I'm like, we've been here 2 hours. I can't do no more than that. That's it. That's all you gonna get. And then they pass by and I just look. I got my bags. I done bought everything I want. And I'm just sitting there. They pass by me and they walking slow, talking, look at them. I done went got my shoes, got my slacks, got my shirts, got my stuff and shit. You didn't even go. I said, I looked at everything I didn't look at because I already knew where I wanted to go because I checked it out before I got there.
All right, so we're going to move on.
So I'm going to read this scripture. It's going to be Isaiah chapter 5, and it's going to be 1 through 7. And we're going to really try to land the plane with this.
Okay.
And so it says, and this is from the Good News Bible, so please bear with me because it breaks it down for us people like me that needs it to be simpler. All right. It says, listen while I sing you this song, a song of my friend in his vineyard. My friend had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. He dug the soil and cleared it of stones. He planted the finest vines. He built a tower to guard them, dug a pit for treading the grapes. He waited for the grapes to ripen, but every grape was sour. So now my friend says, you people who live in Jerusalem and Judah, judge between my vineyard and me. Is there anything I failed to do for it? Then why did it produce sour grapes and not the good grapes I expected? This is what I am going to do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge around it, break down the wall that protects it, and let wild animals eat it and trample it down. I will let it be overgrown with weeds. I will not prune the vines or hold the ground. Instead, I will let briars and thorns cover it. I will even forbid the clouds to let rain fall upon it. So why would I read you something so dreary and drug out? Because he had an expectation of what he wanted the vineyard to be like. He felt like if he had planted these grapes in fertile soil and did all these things, that it should have turned out like it should. But the parable is that sometimes things don't come out like you should. But when you don't communicate something clearly, and then you begin to speak out all that foolishness, I don't like you. You make me sick. Get out of my face. I don't want to hear it. So now you wind up doing this. So this is what I'm going to do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge around it. I will break down the wall that protects it. So when I start speaking these negative things to my spouse, then I'm taking away the protection of their feelings. And I'm taking away the protection of my own feelings. I'm going to let wild animals trample over it. So I'm going to just let the enemy come in and rip my stuff up. I ain't going to prune it. I ain't going to try to like keep myself together or keep saying, uplifting words to my spouse. Right. I'm just going to say whatever. I ain't going to hold the ground. I ain't going to clear the weeds so that we can always have fertile soil. I'll even forbid the clouds to let rain fall upon it. I mean, I ain't going to even let just simple light shine upon us.
Not even washing, your marriage in the Word of God to help try to cleanse it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak over the atmosphere, to change our surroundings.
Yeah.
That's what all that says. And when you just, like the animosity, the strife, the pain, the hurt, the frustration, the disrespect, All of those things that we talked about earlier, that's what all of that is.
Yeah, and that's not healthy. And so we can eliminate a lot of these issues, team. We can eliminate a lot of these issues, all of you that's listening, by communicating what you want or what you would like to experience.
Right.
Then talk about if that's realistic or not,
Mm-hmm.
because it may not be, or it may be something that you need to discuss. I think a lot of issues come up later on in life because it was never discussed in the beginning.
Right.
And that's why Millicent said, you need to have a plan about how you want to approach marriage. It is not this put a ring on it and then things are going to get better, because it's not. It ain't that. You got a plan. You have to prepare. You want your wedding to be a certain way, so you go buy all these things and you put everything together. You put a program together. You got the stuff sitting on the table. You do all that.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it may not come out the way you want it. But you have to understand that the expectations of how I wanted my wedding day to be may not have been like I wanted it to. But I got married to the man or the woman that I dreamed of, and this might not be the way it was gonna happen, but
Mm-hmm.
even then, I already got an attitude of how I can either compromise or just understand that sometimes life is just not gonna be in an ordered sequence of events that you think it should be. You need
Right.
that? Okay. And so there's another scripture that Millicent's going to read.
So this is Numbers 35 and verse 23.
Mm,
And so when you read before it and after it, it's really talking about getting judgment for someone that has been killed. But this is what got my attention, and I'll explain it, the reason why I chose this one. So Numbers 35 and 23 says, or suppose that without looking, anyone throws a stone that kills someone who he did not intend to hurt and who was not his enemy. So how many times are our expectations not voiced to our spouse and they don't need it? And again, the animosity, the strife, the anger, the resentment, the disrespect, just talking back, just all of that happens. You're throwing stone after stone after stone.
mm-hmm.
So just like we go back to that lesson when we talked about the chinks in the armor,
Mm-hmm.
and we had the armored heart and it had the little gaps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those are what your words do to your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we don't want to do.
No.
And then in the end, we end up hurting someone who wasn't our enemy in the first place.
There you go. Land the plane.
So in all of this being said, we have to communicate what we want, what we don't want, what we like, what we dislike. But again, like Gerrol always says, it's about how it's packaged.
Mm.
And I always say it's not that you're changing your words of what you actually want. Well, it's not that you're not saying what you want, but you're just changing your words so that it's more pleasing to the ear.
Mm.
But you're not changing what you're actually asking for, what you're saying.
Mm.
Because if you, what is our parents used to say? The grandparents. You catch more flies with honey?
Yeah.
Same thing.
And don't
Still
get me wrong.
applies.
There's sometimes when you're going to have to be stern and say something to somebody, and that's okay.
Right.
But if you're saying something to somebody to hurt them into submission, that ain't cool. Or you going to say something to them negative to think that would impact them making a change in actually yielding to the expectation that you have, it's only going to drive a wedge between you and push them further away. So now we're going to kind of divert to you all. Let's talk about some unmet expectations and what you will do now to try to bridge the gap with that. Or how would you try to bring about, how would you lean in on that conversation? Just like you lean in to kiss somebody. How you going to lean in on a conversation that you were going to have with your spouse or with your fiance about what expectations you have? It could just be as simple as, when we got married, what kind of expectations did you have for me? You know what I'm saying?
That's a great conversation
it's
starter.
late. It's late in the marriage. Why are we talking about that? I mean, we didn't talk about it before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that could be something that you could do.
But
Barbara,
it's never too late to change. You know, it's never too late to change. Because that's one thing as a married couple, you never want to stop growing. You never want to stop learning. You know, we tell the story all the time. We started going to marriage class, and this was outside of marriage counseling. We started going to marriage class from the time we got engaged. All for as long as we've ever had marriage class. So we've been through Pastor Mike and Miss Lisa. We've been through Gary and Yvonne. We've been through Nellie and
that's
and
right,
Robert.
and Robert, Nelly,
You know, so
Davila,
all of these amazing people have done nothing but just sow into our lives. You know, and that's part of the reason that we do this broadcast, because we need it.
Yeah.
We need it. And even through our studies, we're still learning. So that's what we want y'all to get. We don't have the answers to everything, you know. And I'm glad that's great.
That's good.
That's great. You know, so we have to. It is so important, you know. But don't get so complacent with your spouse.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Yeah. You something else. So I think that it's important really just to go and have that lean on in.
Yeah.
Lean in with God first and say, Lord, how do I have this conversation
Let him
with my
orchestrate
spouse?
it. Let God just orchestrate that
You
thing.
want to plan how you want to lean in. Lord, I want the atmosphere to be right. Lord, let the person be receptive. We ain't even got to come to some conclusions. Let's just lean in and get it out there in the air and on the table. And Lord, what is the one thing that I really need to lean in on? I know I might have a lot of expectations, but which one of these expectations is the one that I really need to communicate to my spouse?
Yeah.
And if that's the one, you ask God to set the stage. You ask God to be able to give you patience, and the fact that what you may want to be a 2-hour conversation might only be a 20-minute conversation, but it may open the door to another conversation that may be 40 minutes.
Exactly.
Or maybe, you know what I'm saying? It just depends. So you want to set the stage for all of that. You don't just want to lean in and say, what expectation did you have for me before we got married? You know, that might work.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you already know your spouse, and you know sometimes when you start asking questions about expectations and they already know that they're not meeting them, then they're going to get defensive. So if you know that's going to happen, you want to go in and ask God, set the stage for me, Lord. Yeah. Put this out there in a way that it doesn't blow up and just cause more dissension.
Right.
If we have 20 minutes to talk and then he want to shut it down and she want to shut it down after that, I'm okay with that.
Agree to table it.
Yeah. Now, I do want to go back and say this. You know, it said an unrealistic expectation is going to be angry. Well, in the Bible it says you shouldn't do that. And so we try to make it a habit not to do that. We may make a conscious decision to table a decision even though we still upset with each other to deal with it on the next day, but we try to not be angry with one another because that can lead to other things. One of us cannot wake up the next day and then the last thing you remember is some angry kind of foolishness.
Right.
And then that is the thing that the devil tries to hold over your head. And it's not right. So I don't see nothing in the chat. I want to see what anybody. Just think about this. If you don't want to put it in the chat, that's okay. But all right, Tabitha. That's right. Don't go to bed mad. Yeah. Talk about this stuff.
Even if you have to be up till 3 and 4 in the morning, we've done that one too.
Sometimes we did the whole trifecta, guys. We laid down 2 hours. We laid down 2 hours before we were supposed to go to work.
Yeah, really, that's true.
Got about an hour of sleep, then got right back up, got at it. Yep. But then your day goes better because you know that it was addressed.
Right.
And it might have been a doggone 13-round boxing match of words, and I don't understand, and I can't believe you did this stuff. But when you get it and you circle the wagon, and you go on and apply some word, some scripture to it, and you say, look, we really need to deal with this. Okay, then.
Yeah. And so that's the good thing about it. So if it does get to that point, you both got to go to work, and you agree to table it, that's still on your mind, during the day. And so as you think about that, okay, how did it go last night? Okay, well, that didn't go so well. So what can I do to change it, for the next time we go back and revisit this?
Yeah.
So that gives you an opportunity to get it right or make the continuing conversation better.
Yep. So I want you to. I don't see a whole lot of comments in the chat. I don't know if nobody want to say anything about unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
But it's something that you need to discuss. So I ain't gonna put no pressure on you to discuss it. But I do want you to think about you need to have this conversation.
Yeah. Tabitha, you right. It's heavy when that happens. That's some heavy stuff. That means it's been lingering or messing around or whatever. And it was something that I saw where they kept sweeping the dirt under the little rug.
Yeah, and the rug
and you keep sweeping the dirt under the little rug. And then eventually you trip over that hump because there's so much dirt that's covered up. We got to uncover that thing, sweep it up, and put it in the trash.
And you try to act like that rug wasn't there. It was there. You tripped over. You knew it was there. Okay, so Tabitha said, my thing is when one of... Oh, what's going on?
Just hit done.
Okay. I'm sorry. It
okay.
says...
Okay. When one is passive aggressive, try to apply to myself and not be that way. Okay. So,
Say it so they can...
Okay. So
you want to scroll
I'm
down?
trying to go back, but it's frozen.
Oh, she typed that comment. Okay. So Tabitha was saying, she don't really care for that passive aggressive thing. So that's kind of like giving somebody, to me, I guess, give them the silent treatment, slamming doors.
Right. Or I'm telling you that you need to do this, but it really should apply to myself. But I'm kind of putting it on you, and we don't want to do that. That goes back to what I say, Numbers. That's throwing those little stones.
Throwing that stone.
And you hurting the person that you're not. That's not the enemy. So the Numbers 35 and 23. That's pretty much what that applies to. So.
Are we moving? Okay.
Even for those behaviors, that are like that, we pray about those.
That's a big
or say
deal.
Everything is okay, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
And so that's just like keep sweeping the dirt under the little rug, and you keep sweeping, and eventually a hump is going to rise up, and then you're going to trip over that.
Yeah.
And then when you fall on your face, that's that unmet expectations.
And we've done that. We've done that with our own
We have done that ourselves.
Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. You know you ain't okay. You know you upset.
You're not okay.
You got some problems. And so it becomes because definitely when you say that, it's two things. One, you hurt my feelings and you don't act like you understand you did. So I'm saying I'm okay, but I'm not okay, so I'm still harboring stuff against you. Or two, I really had an expectation of how I wanted you to do something and you just didn't do. You disappointed me. So I think that, but it all comes back to you need to set the stage on a lean in on how you want to have that conversation about what it is that you expect to take place. Because if you don't, it goes unaddressed. It's unmet. It hasn't been clearly communicated. The person don't have the capacity to do it, and you should know that. You should know that the person that you love, that you have the utmost respect for, in this area of his life, and in this expectation that you have, he or she does not have the capacity to do it. So at that point, you either going to compromise that, or you're going to continue to throw stones, and you're not going to till your garden. You're going to let the weeds just choke the life out your marriage because you don't understand that that's an unrealistic expectation that's just not going to be met. It's not. And so at that point, you need to think about what's really important. Me just wanting to get my way, or is it more important for me to understand that I know that he or she loves me? This is just something that they're not able to do. And
But
because
that needs to be communicated.
Mhm.
You know, we have to communicate that.
and because it was something that wasn't discussed before, it makes it sometimes a little bit more difficult
Hmm.
because your expectation was that it would be in that way just because you got married.
Right.
Or it could have been that out of a fool mouth, well, I won't say that, but out of a mouth of a person to say that I promise you I'm gonna be able to do these things for you. Dog, man, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Because now you're making a promise. You're not even gonna ever do it. It's not in you to do it, and you just lied.
Yeah.
And now the person feels betrayed because you said you would be able to do these things, and you never ever did them.
Yeah. And you know, even thinking back now, I hate, if I think about how many times that I said this, I hate that I ever even said that instead of just saying what I expect or saying what I want or what I don't want.
Mm.
Is, well, you should know me. I shouldn't have had to tell you that.
Mm.
You know, I can count, I need 50 people, probably with four hands apiece, you know, to count how many times that I know that I've said that. But again, if I would have just said it instead of, okay, well, he didn't do it this time, but okay, well, maybe he'll get it next time. Or then I'll just let my reaction or my response, like, okay, well, maybe he should have got it by the way I responded or the way I reacted.
Mm.
No, open your mouth.
And so that was something that came up. So I asked, um, I said, you didn't communicate that. You didn't tell me that's what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though maybe I should have done it, but in this issue that we were having, and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a major blow up. It was just that I didn't communicate something, and then the expectation of what she wanted, I just simply said, because now we've been having these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've been sitting out on the porch, now that we've been hanging out and really just enjoying being able to be a little bit more open on how we want to talk to each other, I said, well, you didn't communicate that
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
And it was real dry for a while. It was
Yeah.
some dry talk, but it was the reality that because we took that huge step in our communication piece, that it didn't even result in an argument. It was just that now we got it. You know, we understand each other's expectation around this,
Right.
and we were able to say what we could or couldn't do, or what was going to be able to be done. And I think that, you know, for us, it put us in a better place of being able to hash something out that didn't need to become some anarchy type assault of two warring people.
Right.
You know, that's my thing.
Good morning, Jaleesa. One spouse doesn't know how to communicate and the other is in the darkness, sometimes for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I wanna push on that though. I wanna push on that.
Okay.
So if a person has a nonverbal or another kind of way of communicating, and it's just like anything else. If Millicent expects for me to open the door, then maybe I should be opening the door. If that's the expectation, it was clearly communicated to me. You have a person that's introverted, and they don't do a whole lot of talking, but they have actions that really talk for them. They are communicating.
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand that. You know, one of the questions that I asked one of my leaders, because I learned this from somebody else, is, what two ways do you like to receive praise? You would think that that would have been an easy question. And then, and we're on video because we know we have to do these virtual meetings, and it's like, I don't know. I was like, what? You know, because now you have to, I mean, I got it from another principal buddy, and I was like, okay, you have the floor to say how you want somebody to basically tell you good job, or you can't communicate how you want that to be. I said, you need to think about that. It's just that simple. Even in marriage, you don't ask and you don't give those. I ain't gonna say it's not a directive, but I think that what I'm saying is
don't give the feedback.
the feedback. So I'm just saying one thing about this, Bridget. So me personally, maybe if the person communicates in these nonverbal ways, but they still show love, and they communicate in these nonverbal ways, that could be a way to get something established or bring something up in a different way. You
Right.
know, I sent some flowers to my wife, and you know, it's been a while. What's the occasion? I said, look, I was trying to give you the flowers the day yesterday when she was fussing with me. You get me? I was gonna bring them home. So what's today, Saturday? So I was gonna bring the flowers home on Thursday, but I got there late. I thought they closed at 6, and they actually closed at 5, and I got there at 5:30. So Friday morning, even though we had a conversation that not was a blow up, but we had a conversation that was just around communication. So I just called them and sent and had the roses sent. So I called them about 4 o'clock because I'm already off work, but I hadn't got home yet. I said, did somebody visit you today? Somebody visit me? I said, okay, I'm gonna call you back. I called them and asked them where them roses at. And so, you know, by the time I got off the phone, she had already received them. Well, no, I got off the phone, but by the time I got back to the computer, because I still had about another 30 minutes to work, and so she had received them and she sent me a picture of it. And so my thing is, and what I'm saying to you all is this: people are communicating to you, you know, and you knew these things before you got married.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna have to work through these communication pieces to see how to get it done.
Yeah.
And still be able to get what needs to be done. If it's writing a letter, write a letter. If it's being able to put it on a sticky note and let them come back 2 or 3 days later and then talk to you, you better figure it out. But I think that it's worth pursuing these avenues of communication to be able to see how you're going to do it. And then you can't take out the fact of this. Lord, you know my husband better than I ever will. So I'm giving him to you because my heart longs for you to be able to bring us together in the way you want us to be. Yeah. You gotta go to God and give him that space to work, but also God gonna let you know you ain't getting off the hook. You still gotta face what you gotta face. You still gotta talk about what you gotta talk about. Now, he can set the stage, you know, but it's still gonna happen. You know, we got 2 minutes.
Yeah, but one of my prayers has always been is, God, this is a tough topic that I know we need to address. I'm asking you to give me your words. What do you want me to say? How do you want me to say it? And then not only that, but give him the heart to receive it and the ears to listen.
Yeah.
You know, that's a prayer that has helped out, you know, and when I don't pray that prayer, I can tell the difference. So it works. I can tell you that. So we're going to get out of here. We got 2 minutes. This has been a great day. Please, if y'all have any more comments, concerns, questions, interjections, whatever, you know, I always go back and I check the chat, answer the questions, respond. So please feel free to do that. Please like the video, share the video. Please go to our YouTube channel, guys, and subscribe and like it and share it with other people so we can start hopefully doing everything from one platform and just go to all of them.
If we get more viewers on YouTube, they will give you more things to do.
Right.
But when you don't have enough followers on YouTube, then the channel, the other things within the YouTube channel, we don't have access to because you have to have a larger audience.
Right.
But there are some things in there that can make our experience better. Right. But we can't do that without you out there. Put that word out there.
No, Tabitha, we didn't. We didn't even get a chance or have time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the Zoom.
But I always download everything after this. So we got 1 minute and 48 seconds left on Instagram. We're gonna let you guys go, but know that we love you. We appreciate you.
And remember this: 3 more weeks. And I'm gonna be wrapping
Oh, yeah.
off that. I'm gonna be wrapping off that date night.
But I gotta see some husband-wife interaction
and
on
I'm
these
telling you right
videos.
now, I'm gonna make sure you have a nice time. When I send you on a date, you gonna have a date. Well, I put it
Whether
like
a
this.
single or a
You're
couple.
gonna have some money. I put it like that. You're gonna go and enjoy it. So,
Bye, love you.
bye, Tab. And all right. So the thing is, even if you're single, you still get a chance to get a date for yourself. And I'm gonna make sure you're gonna enjoy it because I believe in setting it out.
Okay.
So we got 3 more weeks.
All right.
You get your husband on there and go to that YouTube channel, show us something that you've been able to interact.
Let's
We
go.
need you to do it.
All right.
You gonna
So
close
we'll
this
see
out?
you guys next Saturday and discuss more marriage matters because your marriage matters.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, have a great Saturday. Oh, which one do I hit to make it stop?
Right
Okay.
there.
Okay.